We didn't trumpet our beliefs because we were afraid. They were afraid. Others would say they're, what's the phrase? Nagmamalinis. Nagmamalinis. Even if that really was what we should be doing, our cultural value somehow doesn't extend to making others ashamed to be corrupt. A friend explained it to me this way: I can say no, but I have no right to take the money away from my friend's kids. There are, however, simple truths. The more you say no, the easier it becomes. The more you do the right thing, the harder it is to do the wrong thing. My line in the sand was defined long ago. The tipping point for me happened in the mid-90s when the fiancé of one of my closest friends offered me $150,000, a lot of money for me at that point, to do a story for CNN. It wouldn't be traceable, he told me, and it would be deposited directly into my bank account. He gave the offer over lunch, and although I wanted to say no right away, he held my hand and he said, "Please take at least a night to sleep on it and think about it." I did. I was shocked. I didn't even tell my friend. That night I did think about it, but then reality stepped in. My sense of self is tied to being a professional journalist, and I couldn't look at myself in the mirror if I accepted that bribe. I drew the line clearly, and I knew that accepting that money would make me a fundamentally different person. On this side of the line, I'm good. If I cross that, I'm evil. It's that simple. How do I define evil? I like the definition from a book I'd encourage you to read. The book is called The Lucifer Effect: How Good People Turn Evil, by Philip Zimbardo. He did the famous Stanford prison experiment when he took a group of ordinary Stanford students and put them in a mock prison, randomly assigning some of them as prison guards and the others as prisoners. In less than a week, he had to stop the study when the guards became increasingly sadistic and the prisoners pathological. These are highly educated, young, idealistic people who were placed in this situation. He analyzed these findings from that study in the context of what American soldiers did in Abu Ghraib and Guantanamo Bay prisons. It shows how situations, culture, can make good people do bad things because they conform, comply, obey, or are seduced by the circumstances. These findings, reading this book, also helped explain many things to me about Philippine society. We have such good people. Why do we have such bad things? Endemic corruption, election violence, particularly heinous crimes like the Maguindanao massacre. 58 people killed in broad daylight with a backhoe digging their graves. Zimbardo gives evil a psychologically based definition. He's a psychologist, and he defended one of the soldiers who was accused in Abu Ghraib. So this is his definition. He said, quote, "Evil consists in intentionally behaving in ways that harm, abuse, demean, dehumanize, or destroy innocent others, or using one's authority and systemic power to encourage or permit others to do so on your behalf." The second part for me is as important as the first part because it means that you can't turn away and pretend you don't see evil when you have the ability to stop it. It's a culture we need to create. How do you do that? Let me jump a little here because that second part of his definition reminds me of the Princeton Honor Code, which each Princetonian writes on every single term paper, every single exam. Everything we hand in, you needed to write this one single sentence that says you have not cheated, and this is important, that you promise to turn in anyone else who does. For example, teachers leave students alone in a room. They hand out test papers and they put the students on their honor. It's brilliant in part because it relies on peer pressure. Even if you tried to cheat, can you be sure everyone in the room will cheat with you? If they don't turn you in, they're considered cheaters. Even worse, are you willing to compromise not just your honor, but everyone else's? You're part of a tradition. Princeton dates back hundreds of years, and you can't let the institution, your friends, and your family down. It was always with a great sense of pride and honor that I signed that pledge. In my 6 years as head of news, I tried to bring that culture in, to use peer pressure to redefine up rather than down, to live according to our ideals. So we wrote a standards and ethics manual. We took a zero-tolerance approach to corruption. No matter who you are, if you accept a bribe, you will lose your job, no matter how much. And that was tested. One of our best employees accepted 1,000 pesos. And a big group lobbied to keep him. It's only 1,000 pesos. The question is, if you allow 1,000, will you allow 1,001 peso? Is there a price for it? When these debates happened, instead of accepting offers, and there are so many offers that come in, our people started reporting them. We proved peer pressure can also work in a very good way. I discovered a lot more than I bargained for. One employee reported an offer for 12 million pesos. 12 million for a series of stories on one issue. That uncovered a systematic attempt to influence policy through news reports. Once you become aware, you can pinpoint those stories in our papers. Elections are another matter. In November 2009, months before the May 2010 elections, several people at our desk reported political candidates, top political candidates, who offered sizable, more than their monthly pay, sizable monthly ATM deposits in exchange for stories. I met with the candidates who made those offers and told them that if they didn't stop, we would do stories about their bribery attempts. We'd start a series called Corruption Watch. They don't need to pay for stories. That's what I told them. Several of the candidates candidly said, you know, if we didn't do this, other journalists would be upset and they'd write against us. They said, we're only protecting ourselves. One talked about having to run a covert media campaign and even asked for help finding someone who could run black ops. I told them,